Hey, it's Tim the Dad here, and this is one of my favorite times of the year. It is spooky season, so you know what that means. It's time to do a top 10 spooky games. Now, before I get started in the list, I just want to point out there is one game in particular, or one subject, that I really wish had a great board game, and that is The Adventures of Ichabod Crane. Now, I know that there have been several versions of games out there, but in my opinion, they just haven't looked that good. So for you game designers out there, that's what Dad wants for next year, a good Ichabod Crane game. So now let's get started with the countdown. Coming in at number 10 is actually a pair of games. It is Monster Fluxx and Zombie Fluxx. Now, these came out in 2013 and 2007, respectively, from Looney Labs. If you know Fluxx, you know these games. But what I really love about these is the imagery on the cards. You know, you've got Dracula, you've got the Mummy, you've got the Wolfman, you've got bats, you've got zombies all over the place. It's just a fun version, or they are fun versions of Fluxx that always seem to come out this time of year. They're a great filler game. They're a great game for families or non-gamers, so check those out. And you can see Monster Fluxx on our channel. Coming in at number 9 is Mysterium. Now, this is from Libellum, and this came out in 2015. This is a clue-giving deduction game that we first saw at Gen Con, and I remember the booth there. They were really all into the theming. They had, people in robes, and you had to, schedule a time to go, demo the game. They had it back in a little booth, very mysterious. But you've got one person who represents a ghost on Halloween night, trying to give clues to investigators on how that ghost was murdered in real life. So it's a lot of fun. We've covered it on the channel as a 2-player game. It's better with a lot more players, but you can check it out there. My number 8 game is one of the first games that we covered on the channel. That is Elder Sign. Now, this came out in 2011. This is basically Cthulhu Yahtzee almost. You're going to be sending your investigators out through the museum. You're going to be rolling dice, trying to get certain symbols so that you can solve mysteries, because you don't want the Ancient One to wake up. Bad things always happen, when he wakes up. He's always cranky. But this is obviously with dice, very luck-based. There are certain things that can help you mitigate the dice rolling, but it's a game that kicks you in the teeth repeatedly, and when you finally beat it, you have a very good sense of accomplishment. Again, this is another one of those that, because dice are involved, I think it's more suited to non-gamers, but gamers alike love it. This was one we played the snot out of when we first got it. Several of my friends have the game, and it still hits the table. My number 7 game is a game that many of you may not have heard of, although if you've watched the channel, you've probably seen our video on it, and that is Transylvania Curses and Traitors. Now, this is from publisher WIBAI Games. I know that's a mouthful. Came out in 2015. This is a game where you are going to be playing tiles out on the table that have all these different spooky locations. You're going to be moving around. Somebody may become a werewolf. Someone may become a vampire. You just never know. It's a game of exploration. It's got great imagery. The story, just moving around the board, kind of sucks you into that. And it's just a lot of fun to play at this time of year. My number 6 game is a game that will probably never make it on any of Megan's top games, and that is Pandemic: Reign of Cthulhu. Now, this is from Z-Man Games and came out in 2016. This is essentially a Cthulhu skinned version of Pandemic. So if you like the Cthulhu mythos and you like Pandemic, you're really going to like this. There's not a lot of differences, but you're going to notice a lot of the things as part of the Cthulhu mythos in there, as far as the locations and the names of cards and such. But this is, for me, a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite versions of Pandemic because of the Cthulhu theme. So check it out. My number 5 game is a game that actually will get your blood pressure up. This is Escape Zombie City. This is from Queen Games and came out in 2014. It's a cooperative dice chucker where you have an app that is going to be giving you audio clues as far as when you need to get back to a safe place. You're going to be going out in the city. You're going to be trying to collect certain items, but you have to make it back to the church. That's your sanctuary. And you've got to avoid zombie hordes that are just keep coming out on the board. The great thing about this is the app, because you're very focused in playing, you're rolling dice like crazy. You're not paying attention to the background ambiance music that much, and you will not notice when the music completely stops and it's very silent and you hear 4 raps on the door, and that will almost make you jump. It's a game that plays very quickly, and it only takes 15 minutes. It's one we've covered on the channel. It is based off of Escape: Curse of the Temple, which is one of the early games that we covered on the channel as well, and one of the games that we really like. So if you like zombies and you like Escape: Curse of the Temple, I think you're really going to like this one. Now, my number 4 game is not quite so scary, but it does have some scary images. And this is based off of one of our all-time favorite game series or families, and that is Legendary. Now, this is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer version. This came out from Upper Deck in 2017. It's one that we've featured on the channel, and it's actually one that I try to get to the table this time of year all the time, because Megan has already watched all of the Buffys, all the seasons. I have not. I basically have been watching a season a year. I usually start at the end of September and finish up right around Halloween. I am only on season 3. So as I am watching new episodes, I'm learning more about the cards that are in the game, because to be honest, when we first started playing it, I didn't really know much about anything. I think at the time I'd only watched maybe 3 or 4 episodes. But it's Legendary, and I love Legendary. And I actually really like Buffy, even though it's kind of cheesy and dated a little. But it's a lot of fun. Like I said, this is one we featured on the channel, so you can check it out there. But yeah, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the Legendary version. My number 3 game is a game that I actually played last night, and that is Horrified from Ravensburger. Now, this came out in 2019. This is a game that when we saw it at Gen Con, we saw everybody had a copy of this in their bag walking around. It's a very popular co-op game. It has the classic monsters. You've got Frankenstein's monster and the bride. You've got the Invisible Man. You've got the Wolfman. You've got Dracula. You've got the Mummy. You've got the creature from the Black Lagoon. You're going to be going around town trying to save the townsfolk, as well as put these monsters down, essentially, except for Frankenstein's monster and the bride. You want to actually play the love guru and get those two together. But you got to do certain things, or otherwise they repel each other. So you got to get them to kind of get to their human side and then make them fall in love, and then they're off the board. Everybody else, Dracula, you drive, stakes through his heart type of thing. You're going to destroy his coffins. So very thematic. Again, like I said, it's cooperative. It's one that we featured on the channel, and it's one, obviously, that continues to hit the table year after year during this time. My number 2 game is a game that, without a doubt, always hits the table multiple times this time of year because it's not only one of my favorite games, it's also one of Megan's. It's one that we featured on the channel. We featured the expansion for it, Widow's Walk, and we are hoping to get the new 3rd edition of Betrayal at House on the Hill to the table. So this is a game where it is a hidden traitor game. You're all going to this haunted house. You're going to be exploring, new rooms are going to come out. You're going to have something that triggers a haunt. And one of you might possibly turn into a traitor. Not all the time, but most of the time. Then it's one against many. This is a game that it's so much fun to play. It's got, so much theme. You're constantly reading cards, you're adding to it because of the modular board. Each game is, and the different haunts, each game is going to be very different from the one before. Also with the people you play, because, some people don't want to be the traitor, or they go after certain people, that sort of thing. It's all the group makeup type of thing. But in the 3rd edition, they actually have a rule in there that if you don't want to be the traitor, you can actually trade with someone else. Now, we've always incorporated that with the 2nd edition anyway, so not that big of a deal. But this is a game that if you haven't played it, I think the moment you play it, you're going to go, man, this is an awesome game. So I think you're going to really want to check that out if you haven't already. That is Betrayal at House on the Hill. And here we are, my number 1 game. Now, this is a game that I always try to play multiple times this time of year. It's a longer game. It's a heavier game, but it is so rich in story and theme that there's just no question that this would be number 1, and that is Eldritch Horror. Now, this came out from Fantasy Flight in 2013. This is a cooperative game where you are playing as an investigator or a team of investigators traveling around the globe, basically trying to fight all the Cthulhu mythos. It's got everything that you would know about the Cthulhu mythos in the game. There's tons of expansions. I have all the expansions. I haven't played them all yet, but I've played almost all of them. And this is one that each game is very different. You have a bunch of different old ones that you can go up against. You've got just a ton of different investigators you can play. And as long as the baddie hasn't woke up, then you're not completely out of the game. You can, if your character dies or goes insane, then you can basically come back as a new character. And that former character of yours stays on the board, and other players can encounter it, pick up items that it may have had, that sort of thing. So it's so much fun. The game, I think, plays up to 8 players, and I would never want to play it really past 4, just because while the turns generally go faster, just by having that many people in the game, it really bogs it down. I mainly play it at 2 and 3 players, and I've even played it solo recently. If you check out our Facebook page, you can see the recap of that. But Eldritch Horror is just so much fun. If you like Arkham Horror, that game, then I think you'll probably like this one. If you've ever played Fortune and Glory, this is kind of like a Cthulhu version of that, because your character has different traits, and whenever you have to do certain tests, you're going to be rolling dice trying to get successes, and the amount of dice you roll is based on your strength in that trait. And like I said, you're picking up items, you're getting spells, you're increasing, your knowledge of things, and it's just, like I said, so much theme, so much story. This is one that even when you get kicked in the teeth and you lose multiple times, when you win, it's going to feel so gratifying. And even when you lose, you still have that story that is just so rich and immersive. So Eldritch Horror is my number 1. So that's my top 10 spooky games that I like to play during this spooky season. Let us know in the comments below what your top spooky games are, and we'll catch you guys next time. Thanks for watching our video. We hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, click that like and subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media like Facebook
and Twitter at DadBeDaughter.
And if you like what we do and you want to support us, you can visit our Patreon page. So thanks for watching.
Thanks.